Zildjian has recently reintroduced the Z custom crashes, and in the process, they've discontinued the A heavy crashes. So if you're into heavy crashes, if you're a heavy hitter, then you're definitely going to want to hear these sound differences first, as you may prefer the A heavy used over a new Z custom. These new Z customs are actually not straight up replicas of the original Z customs. They're slightly modernized versions of it, just as the A heavies derived from the Z customs and Z3 line. The original Z customs used a little star-shaped hammer. That's similar to what's out right now, though the first Z customs I ever owned used little triangles in a circular pattern. Over time, Zildjian changed the hammering pattern on this to be these large circles which were hammered down. The Z customs were then reimagined as the Z3s. They added heavy lathing, changed the hammering strike, and hammered upwards instead of down. And they completely changed the hammering pattern as well. And over time, they continued to change what that hammer strike looked like. Eventually, the Z3s were discontinued, but those crashes were rebranded under the A series as the A heavy crashes. Again, the style of the hammering changed over time. The A heavies were sold as recently as 2023, so the good news is that if you prefer an A heavy over the new Z customs, there's still plenty of inventory on the used market to get an A heavy. Both cymbals have a brilliant finish. They should both be bright and loud. They should both be good for heavy hitters. Interesting enough, the new Z custom is only a medium weight, so it's not as heavy as the old A heavies. Checking my notes real quick, this 17-inch Z custom, this weighs 1,364 grams. Compare that to my A heavy. This is from 2017. This weighs 1,454 grams. Compare that to an old Z3 that I have from 2011. That one weighed 1,648 grams. So obviously these cymbals have been getting thinner over the years. In fact, this new 17-inch Z custom is not that much heavier than my old 16-inch Z custom. That cymbal was from 1999 and weighed 1,329 grams. Now, this change in weight is important because per Zildjian, generally, if everything else is the same, a heavier cymbal will be brighter. So a thinner cymbal now compared to the old Z customs means that it's going to probably be not as bright as it was. But comparing to the A heavy, it may still be brighter still because it's more like an A custom where it doesn't have that heavy lathing, so that can make it brighter again. Now, I mentioned that the new Z customs are not replicas of the old ones. They've made changes. They haven't disclosed all the changes except that to say that the weight is different, but they claim that these changes will make the cymbals, quote, more durable, musical, and improve their feel. One thing that I did notice that's a difference, at least compared to the A heavies, is that the bell is definitely smaller compared to the A heavy. One thing to note is that usually a larger bell means that the cymbal is louder. Let's do a deep dive sound comparison between these two. I'm going to be recording these with Earthwork brand overheads. Those are going to be running into A Design Pacifica preamps, and then nothing else before they get into the computer. Once in the computer, I'm only going to do phase and time correction on them. No EQ, compression, or anything else on those two tracks, though my other drum tracks will have additional processing. So my initial thoughts, the Z Custom was definitely brighter despite being a lighter weight, and it was definitely not nearly as loud as the A Heavy. Now this might be desirable if you mix and match all different types of cymbals and brands and everything, then the Z Custom may fit in better. You may be able to have it in there without having one cymbal that's just way louder than all the others. I also did some tests without earplugs in off camera just to hear how they sounded, and I can say that based on the short proximity, the A Heavy, it's so loud, it's overbearing. So you should always wear earplugs when you play anyhow, but you definitely need them when you're using an A Heavy. The action of the cymbals was also noticeably different. The A Heavy seemed to have a lot more momentum behind its motion. It took a much harder strike to get it to open up all the way, though it did not take as hard of a strike to get it to start to open up. The Z Custom has a smoother sound. I liken it to an A Custom if you're familiar with those, whereas the A Heavy has a much more complex sound. I would say that's probably a difference between how many overtones there are. Now, of course, these aren't the only heavy cymbals available. Other good options are the A Custom Medium and the K Dark Medium Thin. And you can find sound samples for those cymbals right over here. Until next time, peace.